Hello, everyone. Welcome. I am your host, Rae Irelan, and you are listening to the Soul Aligned podcast, where we help high achieving leaders and driven visionaries do what they love and live their purpose. I'm so excited for today because I have a very, very special guest on. And this episode is all around building business relationships that are aligned. And so, of course, I immediately thought of my dear, dear friend, Robert McGuinness, to join us. So thank you so much for being on here.
Yeah, absolutely, Ray. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, totally. And so, just to share a little bit with our viewers, Robert's the CEO, founder of Soul Venture LLC, which is a company that helps corporate professionals navigate their journey out of their career and into their calling without sacrificing their current family or financial needs. Let me get a holla for that. Yes, so good. So let's just dive right in. And I would love to just hear a little bit about kind of like how did you end up being in this position um, to guide people out of their corporate jobs into their soul calling? And then we'll kind of dive a little bit more into the business relationship side.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me, and thank you for the intro. It's a long story, and I'll do my best to kind of shorten it up. But my whole life, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I grew up having like two really polar opposite ends of my family. Uh, my dad's side was very like Irish, Italian, Catholic. My father's aunt and uncle are a nun and a priest. So on my father's side was very spiritual and religious, and my mom's side was first generation from Jordan in the Middle East, and she was one of 10 siblings, and like really came here with like absolutely nothing. And her four brothers and almost all of my other uncles that were married to my mom's sisters were all like entrepreneurs. And growing up, I just was spending a lot of time around them, and I was really influenced, and I saw myself as one. Right, that was part of like my identity, right, growing up. And I had two business experiences at a young age, one at 21 and 24, right out of college. And they were really powerful learning lessons, and I got my teeth kicked in. And I really believe that that happened because I went into business for the wrong reasons, right? I went into them for who I thought I was and not who I remembered myself to be. And what I mean by that is who I thought I was at the time, probably like most young men between the ages of 20 and 25, where, you know, they kind of want to conquer the world, and they see themselves as like, I saw myself as like this, you know, young, badass, hotshot entrepreneur. And it was all about me, I, and like what it was in for me. And it wasn't really from a place of service, right? And that's why I believe they really kind of rocked my world, and it was a really, really like eye-opening experience for me. And so I had lost a lot of money. I was living at home, and I didn't know what I was going to do. And I had to support myself. So I ended up getting a job in New York City, doing technology sales, and I did really well. I was their youngest rookie to win President's Banquet. I did really well. Won a trip to Aruba. But I had a 3-hour round trip commute to work every day. And it was kind of like after like 5 or 6 months, it was kind of like that new car smell kind of wore off. And I every day I showed up to work, I was like, I don't know if I belong here. And I would feel like this tightness in my chest. I felt like my blood pressure rise. And like every day I sat down and my boss would ask me for something, I'd like have this anxiety come through me. And that's when I realized like I didn't belong there. Like my heart and my soul, like I was meant to do something bigger than this, but I had did it the wrong way. And that's when I had a lot of time to think on a 3-hour round trip commute to work. And I said, how could this be done? How could I get out of my career and into my calling? And that's when I kind of went on a journey of self-discovery. And over the past like 5.5, 6 years, I've invested a lot into myself. Working with people like Tony Robbins, Dr. Johnny Epstein, other top psychologists and spiritual experts to really uncover and unravel this conversation around alignment and calling and soul's purpose, and really uncovering what that meant. And as I further uncovered what that meant, I was going through this process of making it happen for myself. And while I was doing it for myself, I uncovered this like map. And this map that I uncovered was like, it's like a 3-stage journey that I've used to help myself and my clients navigate the journey out of their career and into their calling. So that's the long story short.
Love it.
Yeah.
And I love just the idea of like the map that you found, and being able to really just transfer that over and give that to others. And it's such a cool way to describe really a transformational journey. And yeah, thank you so much for sharing your story. So I'm curious, like in your journey in becoming the entrepreneur that you are and really serving so many people, how have you utilized business relationships to grow your business to the point that it is now? Always going from like literally having a corporate job and like starting up to where it is now.
Yeah, that's a great question. So in the work in network care, in Donnie Epstein's work, there's 4 categories of energy that we can operate with, right? So there's energy poor, energy neutral, energy rich, and energy super rich. And they all relate to kind of different energetic capacities, right, that we can experience in life. And we all have times where we're energy poor and we all have times where we're energy rich, right? Mm-hmm. And when we're at each stage, we also have different levels of thoughts, right? So when we're energy poor in our body, we also have poor thoughts, right? When we're energy rich in our body, we have rich thoughts. Mm-hmm. And what I also believe to be true is that when we're energy poor, we also attract other people that might be energy poor. And when we're energy rich, we also might attract people in our life that are energy rich. And I believe that they're almost like stratifications, right? In like a class system, if you will. Not that they have to be, right? But what I've uncovered is that as I've further gone through my journey of really awakening to who I am, I've further attracted every time and up-leveled my network and my peer group of people that are doing the same thing. And why I believe this is important is because, and I just spent a whole day with my mastermind talking about this and how we can all up-level our environment. And what I believe to be true is that our environment or our business relationships or our relationships in general, I believe that they affirm to us our identity. So when we have our identity of who we're being and we have an environment that sees us in this identity, right? It's now anchoring inside of us. Wow, this is true. This is who I am. And when they do, we're also learning to trust ourselves. So every time someone sees me, it's like, wow, like you're giving me a gift because I'm now trusting myself. I'm now saying, I'm affirming to myself, you're affirming to me that this is who I am. And I don't have to negotiate with myself. And the more that I've created an environment or engineered an environment that can really not only see me for who I am, but also see me for who I want to be and who I'm up-leveling into, right? Like there's a stronger bond that we get to create between ourselves and our business relationships. So that's the power of having really strong business relationships and why I believe that we're all like, it always makes sense to have people that align right with our identity and have an environment that supports our identity. Now, on the contrary, I've also had to, like, as I've grown myself and I've grown my environment, there have been periods of shedding. There have been periods of like, letting go of people and creating space for new people to come on in. And by no means is that easy.
No.
And by no means is that easy at all. Like it's really hard. I would say it's probably one of the more difficult aspects of personal development and personal growth is going through those shifts and periods. And what I've learned in that process of up-leveling is also having radical compassion. Radical compassion for if, they aren't necessarily meeting me, that's okay, right? That there doesn't have to be a judgment, right, in that. That it's just like, here's where I am and here's where you are, and it's totally beautiful. And there's no judgment, and I have this unconditional love for you either way. But you just know like here's where I'm going, and here's where you're going, and it's totally okay. Like we can still stay connected. It just means that we're just going to have to position or reposition, right, people in our life depending on how much we're spending time with them. Yeah, I have another little exercise I could dive into, but I'll just pause there because I just feel like I shared a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I just love what you're sharing. And I think it really is, taking this idea of looking at business relationships, and it's the same idea of like pointing your fingers. It's like, okay, well, how many other fingers are pointing back at you? And so it really is just coming back to yourself and saying, okay, where are you at? Are you feeling rich in energy? Then maybe you can that's probably then what you'll be giving into your business relationships. So with anyone that might be watching, that is wanting to step into having more powerfully aligned business relationships, it's a question of, can you powerfully align with yourself first more? So I just love that you're bringing that perspective in. And one thing I wanted to kind of bring up and ask was like, what is the most difficult part about having business relationships? And you're kind of scratching it a little bit with like, okay, well, if you want more aligned relationships, then you're gonna have to let go of the others. What are some other things or some like difficulties that you've experienced in having those business relationships that are aligned? Is there any difficulty there, and how have you overcome that?
Yeah. I'll lead into what I was going to share, and I think this will be a good conversation. This is an exercise I learned from a coach that I was receiving leadership from, is that there are really three buckets of people you should have in your life that are going to really support your mission. And the three B's, right? The three B's of buckets. The first B are people behind you. The second B are people beside you. And the third B are people who have come before you, or they're ahead of you. So there's people behind you, right? People beside you with you, and there's people ahead of you. And we do this exercise in my mastermind where we have everyone like list out their top 10 to 25 relationships in their life. And we have them categorize them in the buckets. And they look at the percentage of their all overall friends. Where are they spending most of their time? Are they spending most of their time behind them, beside them, or before them or in front of them? And it's very revealing. And it's kind of like looking at your credit card statement at the end of the month. It's like, wow, this is where I spent my time, and I spent my money, right? Because it's really all the same thing. It's where you're exchanging value, right? It's energy. It's where you're exchanging energy, and really where you're aligning yourself. And what we support them in is uncovering why are they choosing to allocate their time the way that they're allocating it, and what needs to move around or shift to really support their mission. And what we uncover is that they're almost always spending like a lot of time with people that might be behind them, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if they were to spend the same amount of time with people behind them with people in front of them, those people would probably pull them forward a little bit, right? A little bit more. And so what I believe is what's required for people in front of you or before you is, I think they need to be enrolled. I think there's a huge conversation around enrollment here. Is like if you have a mentor or someone you're looking up to or someone you know that's ahead of you, like you want to get them enrolled in your vision, right? You want them to like understand what you're wanting and like why you're wanting it, and like help them see the vision of where you're going. And when they're enrolled, they're going to be more than happy to support you. Totally. But it's about having the enrollment conversation. And then once they're enrolled, what you also want to do is like you want to exchange value. You want to do your best to be a value provider. One of my good friends, Michael Ambrosino, who's got like the most unbelievable network at his age, he spends probably about, I would say 60 to 80% of his time in that before you bucket, where he's got so many people that are ahead of him, but he's providing value in some way. And it doesn't always have to look like dollars for dollars, or right, like the way we think value has to look, right? It can look like, well, like we're just friends. Like they just want someone to talk to, right? Or they want someone to like be human with, right? And sometimes that's like what they're wanting. Other times it's, like you're enrolled in their vision, right? And what they're wanting, and you're making introductions for them, right? Like if you can't necessarily meet them on a business level, how can you meet them on a human level? Or how can you have affinity for them? Or how can you be on the lookout for what they're looking for and still provide value to them? And that's kind of how you, I don't like to use the word in, but that's kind of how you are creating affinity, right? You want to create affinity, right? This like mutual like love and connection with each other. And that's how you're going to really feel welcomed, and you're going to really feel seen, and you're going to really be up leveled.
Totally. I love that. And I have the vision of like the infinity sign,
Yep.
and it's this flow of energy that goes back and forth. And it doesn't mean that like both sides are doing the same thing actually, but it's a current. And so what you're giving to someone might be of value, and then they get to share whatever they have of value to come back.
Yeah.
And I love the mindset of being the person that's giving first.
Yeah.
And I think that has been like such a key component to being with those people that are one step before you. Because I think that that's the more challenging piece. It's easier to hang out with people that are behind you or beside
Yep.
you, but it's more of a challenge to be in those business relationships with those that are before you. So how can you do that? Just like offer yourself up as service. And
Yeah. It takes courage. It takes
totally.
courage. It takes courage to introduce yourself and put yourself out there and get in connection and rapport with people. But when you do, what happens is that you're also affirming your identity, right, as you're doing it, and you're starting to see. Because I used to totally do this, right? I used to totally like have like starry-eyed around certain people that were like crushing it, and I'd like, I'd have like this celebrity feel. And what I uncovered about what that meant for myself, and what that meant for myself was I was kind of giving my power away.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And like, I can still recognize someone as being ahead of me without actually giving my power away and being in my sovereignty.
Mm-hmm.
And when I do that, like, I get to see that really we're all whole. Right. So like, they're whole, I'm whole, they're complete, I'm complete, everything's perfect. Right. And I get to be in that conversation, right? Even though they're ahead of me, I can still feel whole in myself. Right. And that has been a huge journey. And that's what I believe the game of business is. I believe it's a game of wholeness, right? It's a game of us returning home and to experiencing our wholeness and our completeness.
Absolutely. And so when we're looking at like the business relationships, looking for a relationship that creates that wholeness. I'm curious, like what else would you be looking like when you're looking for a new business relationship, or maybe even a relationship that you want to deepen in that like aligned place? What are some of like the qualities that you're looking for?
Yeah, it's a great question. I for myself, I value alignment, I value synergy, and I value resonance. Like, I want to co-create with someone that I have a resonance with, and like a soulful resonance. And what I believe to be true is it's a listening, and I believe that like the definition for myself of success isn't about money. It isn't about material things, but it's about how aligned can I truly be to myself, right? And the more that I'm aligned to myself, the more that stuff comes, right? But it's like that comes first for me. And like, can I be in a connection or a resonance with someone where like they're like, it almost feels like destiny. Like we were meant to like be together. We were meant to co-create together. We were meant to interact together in some way. And I know that because I can feel it in my body, right? Like, where my body says yes to me, like it's a hell yes. Right? And so I'm looking for that hell yes in my body. And as I feel that hell yes in my body, they're feeling that hell yes in their body. And it's like, that's what I think I'm looking for the most.
Totally. And I think to even be able to get there, you need to have that sensitivity within yourself, to have that self-awareness of really what does it feel like to be aligned? I think a lot of times, like I think back to when I was like starting business, it's hard to even say like what an aligned business would be if I wasn't even sure like what that felt like to have that like hell yes in my body and to feel that super aligned space just within myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I love, kind of like taking, what does that step look like? And then once you can get to know yourself on that deeper level, then as you're creating business or whatever you're creating, you know, coming into partnership, I mean, we could be talking about love, we could be talking about creative projects, you know,
Yeah.
whatever it is, you can match that person in that space. And it really is this like, it's a sense. And so
Yep.
I love talking about things that are hard to kind of put words to.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's fun to like be like, okay, well, what are those pieces? Like, do you literally like feel like your heart is opened? Do you feel like you get creative ideas quicker? Sometimes with business relationships that are aligned, I know they're aligned because all of a sudden it's like this ping pong ball is going back and forth and we're playing a game. And
Yep.
I don't feel like I'm the only one swinging, or I don't feel like I'm just having like balls thrown at me, you know?
Yeah.
So figuring out that energy of a dance, and it's super fun when you can bring this into your professional life, because I think sometimes it's almost like this friction that gets passed between two people or a group of people. And sometimes that can get doled down in the professional space. And I'm sure you probably witnessed it in the corporate space and in your clients. And so how do you keep that very human energy going while being in your professional and business environment?
Yeah, I think that's where we're all heading to, right? And that's the essence of what I believe it means to be a soul venturer, right? Is the soul venturer is the individual who continues to says yes to the calling that life is giving them. And I believe that I believe that business is the highest form of spirituality, right? Like I really do. And like we can all be an awakening. Like we can all experience an awakening. We can all have an awakened experience. But if we don't take that transmission or that download and we don't integrate it into our body and then ground it into reality, then it's like, where did it go?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what was it really used for? Right. And so like, I believe that we're all up leveling. That's the essence of why I built Soul Ventures. There's these two massive movements that are happening. There's a new economy and there's this massive consciousness movement, and they're merging together. And we're entering into a new tier of a human society. Right. And it's all about collectiveness, right? It's all about, oneness, and it's all about like really seeing the bigger picture of it all.
Mm-hmm.
And the soul venturer and is the individual who like is connected to the bigger picture and is saying, yes, I'm going to venture from my soul. I'm going to say yes to this venture because this is like, I'm playing a role in a bigger picture. Mm-hmm. That's the bigger answer. The shorter answer is that like, how do we stay connected in that resonance is presence. And really like having sovereignty, and presence is a practice, right? It takes, like daily practice, to really listen to your body and listen to, what's aligned for you. I've given 2 months since I've given up caffeine, which I'm really excited about. And yeah, thank you. And working on gluten now, and then eventually going to work towards sugar. But I'm definitely feeling like more sensitized just by like honoring my body and really connecting to that. So yeah, it's a process. It's a journey. It doesn't happen overnight, and it takes a daily practice. My mentor says, we practice presence so we can show up present in life. And, it's a muscle, right, that we strengthen. When I'm practicing presence, I'm in the gym, right, working my presence muscle. So when I show up in interactions like this and in life, like I can be present with people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And I'm sure anyone that's watching and experiencing you right now gets to experience some of that, of what it feels like to be in someone that is really being fully present, and what a gift that is. Truly one of the biggest gifts that we can give each other in this human life. So thank you so much for bringing all of you to the table today and sharing with me and our whole audience.
My pleasure.
And I know that you have a gift for those that are watching. And so we have a meditation that Robert's kindly giving us. So I'll make sure that the link is connected with this video and recording. And yeah, is there any last words that you want to share with anyone?
Yeah. First off, thank you so much for having me. I feel honored to be a guest here with you. You have been crushing it, this past year and this year coming on, and you have some really exciting things. So I'm super excited to watch you continue your journey, which is really amazing to see. And love that you're doing a podcast, and that you're stretching and you're trying new things on, and that's really, really exciting. And yeah, everyone that listened today, thank you so much for listening. I have a gift for you. It's a guided meditation that I introduce to my clients. And to keep it simple, this meditation is a really simple 15-minute meditation that you can do daily to strengthen your sovereignty and your presence. And every one of my clients raves about it. And this is it's like a presence gym membership that you can use to strengthen your presence muscle to really follow your alignment. Definitely check out the meditation. Let me know what you think. And for those that would like to learn more, or you might be in a career, you might be in a role right now, and you're getting a calling for something bigger in your life, but maybe either you know what it is, or maybe you don't, but you don't know how to navigate out of your career and into this calling full time. You don't really see it. I would love to chat with you and see if we might be a good fit to take this conversation further. Currently to date, I've helped many of my clients navigate their journey using a three-step navigational model that anyone can use in any industry to get out of their career and into their calling in a way that doesn't interrupt their family or financial needs. So if you feel called to want to learn more, you can check me out at soul-venture.com. You can also check out the meditation. You'll get a couple emails as well. Or you can follow me on Instagram or Facebook, and we can stay connected. So.
Yeah. Love it. Well, thank you all so much for checking out this video. Subscribe and ring the bell if you haven't. And if you want to check out more videos, go ahead and tap the screen and we'll get you all connected. So thank you all so much. I'm Rae Irelan. This was Soul Aligned, and we will see you soon. Adios.